Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, onto a far more serious matter, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, a crisis that's grabbed the world's attention and refuses to let go. It's a story of invasion, resistance, and a whole lot of global finger-pointing. We're talking about a war that's shaken the very foundations of international security and left everyone wondering, just how bad could this get? The images coming out of Ukraine are heartbreaking: shattered cities, families torn apart, and a growing sense of despair. It's a conflict that feels both distant and all too real, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in our interconnected world. But to truly understand this crisis, we need to rewind the clock a bit to uncover the roots of this conflict and the events that led us to this point. Because this isn't just about Russia and Ukraine. It's about power, principles, and the future of global order. It's about the choices made by world leaders, the bravery of ordinary citizens caught in the crossfire, and the enduring hope for a brighter future. So, buckle up, folks, because we're diving deep into the heart of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Section 2, a blast from the past roots of the crisis. To truly grasp the gravity of the situation in Ukraine, we need to take a trip down memory lane, back to 2014. That's when things really kicked off, with Russia flexing its muscles and annexing Crimea, a Ukrainian peninsula with a predominantly Russian-speaking population. It was a move that sent shockwaves through the international community, a blatant disregard for Ukraine's sovereignty, and a sign of things to come. But it didn't stop there. In eastern Ukraine, a region known as the Donbas, pro-Russian separatists, with a little help from their friends in Moscow, launched an armed insurgency. It was a conflict that simmered for years, claiming thousands of lives and displacing countless more. Ceasefires were attempted, but they crumbled faster than a stale borscht. Fast forward to February 24, 2022, a date etched in infamy. Russia, led by the ever-so-stoic Vladimir Putin, launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, claiming it was a special military operation to denazify and demilitarize the country. Yeah, right, and I'm the Queen of England. This wasn't some minor border skirmish. It was the largest military assault on a European country since World War II, a conflict that plunged the continent into a state of anxiety not seen in decades. Section 3. The Bear's Claws dig in, current state of the war. So, where do things stand now? Well, it's messy to say the least. Ukraine, despite being outgunned and outmanned, has put up a fierce resistance, surprising many, including, it seems, Mr. Putin himself, with their tenacity and determination. They've managed to slow the Russian advance, but the fighting continues, with no end in sight. Cities have been reduced to rubble, casualties are mounting with each passing day, and millions have been forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in neighboring countries. It's a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions, with the UN struggling to keep up with the ever-growing need for aid. Russia, facing stiffer-than-expected resistance and crippling sanctions from the West, has resorted to increasingly brutal tactics, bombarding civilian areas and targeting critical infrastructure. It's a grim picture, folks, and one that doesn't seem likely to improve anytime soon. Section 4. Uncle Sam lends a hand. Biden's response to the crisis. Now let's talk about America's role in all of this. President Biden, from the get-go, has condemned Russia's actions, calling Putin a war criminal and slapping sanctions on Russia's economy like they're going out of style. He's also rallied NATO allies to provide military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine, sending billions of dollars worth of weapons, ammunition, and other supplies. But it hasn't been all smooth sailing. Biden's been walking a tightrope, trying to support Ukraine without provoking a wider conflict with Russia. He's ruled out sending US troops to fight directly in Ukraine, fearing that such a move could escalate the conflict into a full-blown war between nuclear-armed superpowers. Not exactly the kind of scenario you want to see play out. The US has also been cautious about providing Ukraine with certain types of weapons like long-range missiles that could potentially strike targets within Russia itself. The fear is that such a move could be seen as escalatory by Moscow, potentially leading to a wider conflict. Section 5. Ripple effects. Global consequences of the conflict. This war isn't just confined to the battlefields of Ukraine, it's having ripple effects across the globe. Energy prices have skyrocketed, supply chains have been thrown into chaos, and food security is a growing concern, particularly in developing countries that rely heavily on grain imports from Ukraine and Russia. The conflict has also exposed the deep divisions within the international community. While the US, Europe, and many other countries have condemned Russia's actions and imposed sanctions, others, like China, have been more reluctant to take sides. This has raised concerns about the future of the rules-based international order, with some experts warning that we could be headed towards a more fragmented and unstable world. And then there's the nuclear threat. Putin's casual reminders that Russia possesses the world's largest nuclear arsenal have sent chills down everyone's spines. It's a stark reminder of the stakes involved in this conflict and the potential for things to spiral out of control very quickly. Section 6. Yearning for peace. The Western world's plea. Despite the ongoing conflict and the steady stream of grim news, there's a palpable desire for peace among Western citizens. People are horrified by the images of destruction and suffering coming out of Ukraine, and they want to see an end to the bloodshed. Anti-war protests have erupted in cities around the world, demanding an end to the violence and a negotiated settlement to the conflict. But there's also a recognition that peace won't come easily. Russia has shown little willingness to compromise, and Ukraine is determined to fight for its survival. Finding a diplomatic solution that satisfies both sides will be a monumental challenge, but it's a challenge that the international community cannot afford to shy away from. The human cost of this conflict is simply too high to ignore. Millions of lives have been upended, and the scars of this war will likely linger for generations to come. Section 7. Searching for a solution. The path to peace. The road to peace in Ukraine is shrouded in uncertainty, but one thing is clear. A negotiated settlement is the only way to end the bloodshed and prevent further suffering. This will require compromise from both sides, something that, at present, seems in short supply. The international community has a crucial role to play in facilitating dialogue and creating the conditions for a lasting peace. This includes maintaining pressure on Russia through sanctions, providing continued support to Ukraine, and working to address the root causes of the conflict, such as Ukraine's security concerns and Russia's desire for regional influence. The path to peace will be long and arduous, but it's a journey that we must undertake if we are to prevent this conflict from spiraling into an even greater catastrophe. The future of Ukraine, and indeed the future of Europe, hangs in the balance, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.